Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 84 of the Super Deformed Gamescast. As always, I am one of your hosts, John, aka at Mr. Megative on Twitter. And as I have now become known, the Sid of this podcast, I guess that means I'm old. So
he's old to start.
I'm at 37. I don't know how I feel about that. But it's nice to be here with everybody again. We've got a really good podcast tonight, and we have a very special returning friend. This is her second time on the podcast. She's a very good friend of mine, Susan Arndt, who used to be the Games Raider, but not anymore. Susan, why don't you tell us about what you've been up to recently?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, so for those who aren't aware, I was laid off from Games Radar back at the end of April, and the day I announced that I was looking for a new gig, I got an email from Randy Pitchford of Gearbox Software, who I did not know had any idea I existed, let alone had my email address. He sent me an email. He's like, this is going to be a really weird question. You like Magic? Now, I freaking love Magic. I have been into Magic since I was a little kid. I grew up watching, Doug Henning and David Copperfield specials, like, religiously. This is back in the olden days before the internet, when you actually had to watch TV to see this kind of stuff. Super into Magic. And I replied as much, and he said, awesome, I have a thing I'd like to talk to you about. So for those who don't know, Randy Pitchford was at one point a professional magician.
I remember hearing that, actually, yeah.
Yep.
His Twitter handle is Duval Magic.
His Twitter handle is Duval Magic. And it's in his family. A member of his family was known as the Great Cardini, quite famous in Magic circles. And he is, like, super into it. Like, that is his jam. He has a book of magic that dates back to the 16th century.
Honey?
That is how into this stuff he is. So,
honey?
Okay, John is talking to somebody else. What are you doing?
No, sorry, I was just yelling at my wife. She was in the next room.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So there's a magazine called Genie Magazine. It was started 80 years ago. It is the longest running print magazine for magicians in the entire world, has 0 online presence. So he said, hey, how about you make me a website that's all about magic and stuff?
That's so cool.
I said, yeah. He's like, I know you knew how to do that, so how about you do that for me? So I said, yeah, I would be happy to. So that's what I'm doing now. I have my own company called Crop Circle Media, and I have contracted with Randy to make him a website all about magic and magicians, stuff like that.
So called battleborn.com.
That's wrong. That's wrong, man. So Susan, let me ask you this: is the website itself? So, maybe I was yelling at my wife, so maybe I missed this. Is the website live now?
No, it is not. No, we will be launching it. There is a convention for Genie Magazine in Orlando in October, and we will be launching the website right before that. So right now, we're just building the site and populating it with content. And I'm accepting pitches for articles about magic and deception. You can email me, Susan at cropcirclemedia.com, if you have an idea for a fun article along those lines.
Serious inquiries only, though.
Serious inquiries only. Don't, please, for the love of God, I know you think you're funny. Well, the fact that I got up for work this morning was pretty magical. Fuck you, okay? This is my job. I am offering to pay you money.
I made my copy of Super Mario Sunshine disappear.
Don't do that. Don't do that. It's not cool. It's not appreciated. And if you replied to someone saying, hey, I'm taking articles about Dark Souls, and you would like, my soul's pretty dark, fuck you, right? You wouldn't do that to a game journalist. So don't do it to me. I don't have time for your bullshit.
Topic.
That was pretty good. I like that.
Thank you.
That was good. Yeah.
And Susan, you've also got a podcast now as well.
I do. Yeah. So back at Games Radar, Anthony John Agnello and Dave Robots and I, Dave Roberts, we all call him Robots. Dave Roberts, we did the podcast every week, and we had a real good time with it, and people seemed to dig it. So once Anthony and I both got laid off, we were like, well, we're still doing the podcast though, right? Like, we're going to do that? And we floated that idea out on Twitter, and people were like, yes, I would contribute to that Patreon. And we thought that was nuts, because people paying us to just sit and talk about shit is crazy. But yeah, we launched it, and people responded positively to it, and we've met our first goal, and we're on our way to meeting our second goal, and that's awesome. And so we get to do that, and our very first one will be up on Monday.
I am very much looking forward to that.
Cool.
That is
Congratulations
gonna be,
on that, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome, Susan, to see you kind of rebounding and coming back as strong as you have. It's been really, really empowering to see, and all of us, we could not be happier for you. It's just absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It was making the transition out of games journalism was both heartbreaking and a huge relief.
Interesting. Like you mean when you say like a huge relief, you mean like it's just refreshing to kind of wipe the slate clean and start over and kind of
that for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like it's just really fun to work on something brand new and not be like, okay, how the fuck am I getting 6 pieces of content out of this Call of Duty reveal? Like that, But also, I love my job because I love games and I love getting to talk to people about games, and I love all the different perspectives we bring to things, including yours, which are usually wrong. But
that's fair.
Yeah. But and you witnessed this happening live. There's a guy on Twitter who for 2 years has been talking shit about me and to me.
Oh, yes.
Over a review I didn't write.
His name rhymes with John, which is kind of scary.
It does.
Is it Bond?
Yeah.
Let's not give him the.
We're not going to give him. We're not going to give him.
No.
But like that is, and he's just an asshole. Like he's a Xbox. He is the platonic ideal of Xbox fanboy asshole.
Yes.
And most gamers are not like that. Most audience members are not like that. Most of the audience members are absolutely wonderful, normal people who just want to be like, hey, tell me about a game you like so I can see if I like it too. They're really great. But the people who suck a lot, and they try to hit you every single day. And I've been doing this for 10 years. And I'm tired of it, man. Like, I'm just...
You know what's interesting, Susan, is that I have another journalist friend. I'm not going to say who it is, but he is planning on getting out as well. And I sent him a DM. He told me to send a DM, and I said, well, why? Like, I mean, like what's going on? He says, honestly, I can't post. He says, and he writes for an Xbox, publication. And it's a legit one. And he says, I can't. He says, if I post something that's pro Xbox, I get swamped with people telling me I'm biased and I'm a fanboy. He says, if I post something that's anti-Xbox, I get swamped with Xbox fanboys who tell me I'm a traitor, that I'm working for the other side. He says, and I don't take sides. I'm just here.
Of course not.
I happen to work for an Xbox site. Like, right. And he says, I just want to get back to being a gamer. And right now I feel like I can't be a gamer. He was like, when games become, he says, it's making video games not fun for me anymore.
Yep.
And it's really sad. It's really sad to see that happen to people.
Yeah, and the thing that's just so aggravating, because you know this logically, the people who are the nastiest to you fall into very clear camps. There's the ones who are just bored, and this is what they have learned is entertainment. Oh, for entertainment, when you're bored, you're horrible to people online. They will grow out of it eventually and move on, and then there will be new ones to come take their place.
Yes.
And then there's the ones who are genuinely crazy, but that's a very, very small group. And then there are ones who are just fucking jealous. They want your job. They want to be paid to write about video games. So they fucking hate you because you have what they think they deserve.
It's either jealousy or something is deeply, deeply missing in their own personal lives, and this is the only way they can fill that void.
I put those folks into one of the other two groups. Like there are a lot of people online, and this is not just about video games. This is in many. Like I've been on baking forums. Same shit happens. Serious. Oh my god! Like
sourdough, motherfucker.
I'm not even. Oh my! It was about a cake for a 5-year-old. Oh my god! And it got into you would say that, you leftist. What? I don't. Jesus.
Well, they take their hobbies way too seriously.
Well, exactly, and it does come from a place of something is wrong, and they can't or won't do what they need to do to fix it. assuming they even know what it is. And so this is the outlet for the pain that comes from the thing that is broken.
I seem to remember a group of people talking about this very thing at PAX East. You know, so if that's on YouTube, if anybody wants to listen to a bunch of really intelligent, you know, pleasurable people talk, you know, please, by all means, I can shoot the link. Like this has been discussed at PAX East.
Yeah.
Well, Susan, like I said, we could not be happier for you.
Thank you very much.
Fanboys and trolls aside, we could not be happier for you, and we are so glad to have you back on tonight. So guys, so Jeff had a really good idea in the SDGC DMs. We have not done this in a while. We wanted to start off tonight by talking about what we've been playing over the past week and kind of give some impressions. There have been a lot of game releases coming out. There's a lot of cool stuff happening. And since it was Jeff's idea, and Jeff, you were just playing something right before you came out, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of stuff over the last month. I got back into Destiny to try and finally do the raids that I never did because it was just such an awful grind at launch. It actually wasn't bad. The first raid I did is pretty cool. I'm not going to talk about that much because everyone's either played it or doesn't care. But it is. I just think it's a shame that it was so difficult to access. The lack of matchmaking. I have a hard enough time finding, as you guys know, because I never play games with you. I have a hard enough time coordinating schedules to get 3 people online together, let alone 6. So it really sucks that they made it so inaccessible. And some people use the argument, well, they want the raids to be special and kind of feel, you know, like you accomplished something by actually doing them. And I get that, but I just think there would be a better way to go about it. But it is a very different type of experience from the standard missions, and I did quite enjoy it. So I've just been poking around in Destiny, and I'm actually pretty psyched for Destiny 2. It's a lot of fun to play, and now that I've kind of accepted the fact that I don't give a shit about a story, and I'm just in there to shoot stuff with friends. I've gotten over that initial.
Apparently, I mean, I played the beta, and that opening, you know, the beta for Destiny 2, that opening mission had more story in 30 minutes than Destiny 1 did in its entirety.
Well, the thing is, the second one has characters. Like, there's actually, in a mission, there's actually characters in there doing stuff and saying things. And the first one, literally every mission, dumps you in a spot, your ghost gives you exposition, and then you go. So, we'll see. So that's been pretty fun, and I've been playing a game I backed 4 years ago now, in 2013. I backed a game called The Long Dark.
Oh, this is what I came to hear.
It's made from, I feel bad, I can't remember all the list off the top of my head. It's got what brought me to it wasn't just the pitch for the game. I think the important thing with Kickstarters and having success backing projects is to know who's behind the project and your confidence in their ability to deliver. And I looked at this, and it's got a lot of, it's got, I think, ex-Volition, there's some ex-THQ, there's some people from even BioWare, I think. It's got a lot of ex-AAA talent, people that have worked and shipped big projects. And so I was like, you know what, I think these guys know what they're doing. They've got a bit of a pedigree, and it was a really unique kind of idea. So it's a survival game, but it's set in the Canadian North. So not only are you worried about kind of your food, your thirst, and your hunger, but your main enemy is the cold. So you can freeze outside in a matter of minutes. And just the art style and the atmosphere that they've tried to accomplish, it's unlike anything else I've ever played. The snowstorms are just the most convincing I've ever seen in a game.
Jeff, the events in The Long Dark came about because some kind of worldwide apocalyptic event, right?
It's not clear if it's worldwide. I haven't dug through forums to see what people's theories on. They've been intentionally vague. So it started as a Kickstarter project. Kickstarter backers got access to it a few years ago, the beta. It eventually went on Steam Early Access and Xbox Game Preview. But it's just the survival mode. It's basically just a sandbox for you to kind of explore and survive. Very, very similar to Minecraft, I guess, without the kind of house building aspect. But there was no background really given. So there was a geomagnetic event that basically crippled this part of civilization, but it's not clear whether it's the entire world, whether it's just this one region. So with the game's final release this Tuesday, it's officially out now. It's episodic, so in addition to the sandbox mode, there's a story mode. It launched with 2 episodes. There's a total of 5 planned for season 1. Are
they connected? Is it like an overarching story?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm trying to go in as blind as I can. Their 2 episodes are connected, but they say that they're very different, and there's a reason for that. The story supposedly switches between 2 people. There's a guy named Will McKenzie, I believe that's voiced by David Hayter, and then Astrid, his ex-wife, I believe that's Jennifer Hale. And it's also got Mark Muir in it as well, so some strong voice talent there.
Well, hold on, just not to cut you off, Jeff, but all I would be able to hear is just Canada never changes. Does he sound like Solid Snake? He probably
No.
not, but okay.
If you know what David Hayter sounds like, it sounds like him.
Okay.
And I imagine Elias Tufexis sounds like Elias Tufexis.
Yes.
So is the Long Dark the lost chapter of Metal Gear Solid 5?
Time will tell. I haven't got to the end.
What
So
is
we'll see
the
how it
Metal
all
Gear
ties
Deus
together.
Ex crossover that we've all been waiting for?
You know, Susan, what if you find out that it's not Canada, but you're on Shadow Moses? Think about that.
Stop it. Stop
Think
it.
about that.
Stop it. Don't. Okay, look. I have never played a single Metal Gear game, right? Right? Okay. No.
I'm in the same boat actually.
Look, I suck at stealth. It's not my jam. I have nothing against.
I'm with you on that.
games.
I'm not a stealth guy at all.
Right. It's not. Oh my god. Before Phantom Pain came out, Dave Roberts wrote the story of Metal Gear. Like, here let us bring you up to date with the narrative of Metal Gear.
It's a hell of a narrative.
What? Like, there's clone arms, and then the
The guy
guy.
shits himself all the time.
It's just.
It's the most.
Cyborg
It
Ninja.
is. I will give you this. It is the most nonsensical storyline.
Kingdom Hearts makes more sense.
It probably. Yeah. No, you're probably right. And yeah. No. Yeah. Like the Metal. I love the Metal Gear games except for 5 because 5 was a not a disaster.
Okay, how can you like 4? I don't understand what's
4.
good about 4.
Gameplay, man. I mean, for me, gameplay is key. But
And you didn't like the gameplay
And,
of 5?
wait, hold on. Wait, and then you say you hate 5. I can't.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, no. Well,
I can't
hold
with
on. Because 4 is where the narrative with it and it's 2-hour-long cutscenes like that in my opinion is where the whole thing started to unravel. And then in 5 they said, you know what, the story's getting too convoluted. Let's just dump the fucking story and put everything on cassette tapes that you can find in the environment.
Right.
And then we'll have a half nude sniper. And
Okay, that
and
part
we're
is
good.
just look.
That was
she
ridiculous.
has to breathe through her skin.
I remember
Okay,
that. I remember
it's
that.
scientifically accurate.
So
I have to breathe through my skin. So, I mean,
so
that's,
Susan,
I'm ashamed of my deeds.
Susan, after the podcast, go to YouTube. There is a mod. There's a scene in Metal Gear Solid 5 where Quiet is dancing in the rain.
I know.
Somebody modded it and replaced it with Revolver Ocelot.
Yeah,
It is-
it's
okay,
that's
so good.
It is
It's
the
pretty
best. It is the best thing about Metal Gear. It is
Perfect.
outstanding. Yes, but Jeff, anything else on the Long Dark, buddy?
No, that's it. I'm still a little early into story mode, so I won't have much else to say till I kind of wrap that up. I guess the only other thing I want to mention, I played through Batman the Telltale series
I'm sorry.
recently, and I was like, it's really fucking good. Like, if you don't like Telltale, you won't like it. But if you
Did you
like,
play it on PC?
oh, of course, yeah. The only
Oh, okay,
game I didn't
alright.
play on PC
'Cause
was
I
Borderlands,
was
and I
unlucky
left
enough to
out.
buy it on PS4, and I just couldn't handle the.
I bought the first episode on PS4, and I played through. I was like, no, fuck this. I'm just gonna buy it on computer.
Yeah,
So-
I can't do.
Because I didn't have any issue. I played the other Telltale games on PS4, and I didn't have any real issues.
I
with
played
them.
Borderlands, and it was great. So like, oh, they
Borderlands
fixed their
is
shit.
fantastic.
And then I played Batman. I was like, what happened?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's their new fixed engine.
Yeah, but if you like Batman, it's a really cool. It's basically a Bruce Wayne story, which we don't get a lot of. Even the Arkham games, they're just Batman games. So it's really cool to see, it's all about Bruce and his family and his relationships. And since it's a Telltale game, you actually kind of get to shape how you interact and treat some of the characters. So
I'm very excited for Wolf Among Us Season 2.
I can't.
Oh, God,
believe
yes.
they're finally doing that.
I'm very excited.
I have heard so many good things about The Wolf Among Us, and I've never played it. And I think it's
Oh
my
my
time.
god!
Yo, you
What?
can run.
Stop
Yo,
playing
run.
Final
You can run through
Fantasy
that in
for
a
10
week.
goddamn minutes.
Yeah.
You can run through that in a weekend. So I suggest you do it. 'cause
Although
it's really
Susan, I
good.
will say this: I actually picked up Gone Home, and I'm going to play that this weekend.
Okay.
That takes an afternoon.
I've heard good
Going
things
home
about
takes
Gone
like
Home.
5 minutes to beat.
It's okay. It's about 2 hours.
An hour and 45 minutes.
I finished it in 90 minutes, and I feel like I did everything.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
finished in like 45, 50 minutes.
Like, conceptually, I appreciate their world building. I like the way their approach to narrative. There's some really incredibly deft environmental storytelling happening in that game. The main storyline made me want to jam a pen in my eye because it was just so self-indulgent. And then to hear people talking about how much it meant to them because they were kids in the 90s and they read zines and shut the fuck up. I can't. Stop it. Go away.
Yeah, very nostalgia pandering.
I relate to the game.
All right, I want to move on to JT. JT, why don't you go next, dude? What have you been playing? And if you say Rocket League, I'm going to move on.
Rocket League.
It's probably the majority of what I've been playing.
God, dude, play
There's
another
nothing wrong with
game.
that. There's
Sorry.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah,
but there are other
I know that,
games.
man.
There are other games that I'm going to send you video games. I've got to.
I
Yeah,
have-
but when a game is that good,
I have a real no. You don't need to send me any games. I have a
I can
problem
send
with
it back.
playing too many games. That's my biggest issue. Is that I'll like start something. Like I started Watch Dogs 2. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Played for 2 hours. Moved on. To Pyre came out, and it's all this like I've just been hopping around so much. But I guess the one I've played the most since like for like a month is Just Cause 3. Like I sat down and I played like probably 8 hours of that already.
Are you playing it on console or PC?
Yeah, I play on PS4. I got it with the games with gold.
Is it running?
No, PS Plus.
Yeah, I was gonna say Games to Gold is Xbox.
Yeah, and so
Is it running any better than it used to? Because I picked it up on PS4 and I couldn't play it because it was running like it was like playing. It was like somebody had stuck oatmeal in a PS4. Like it was bad.
Yeah, I mean, so boost mode makes it better. I've seen videos of where it was at before on Xbox and standard PS4, and I definitely didn't want any part of that. But the boost mode, yeah, it makes it playable. There's a lot of drops still, but it's not offensive to where you're like you want to stop playing. It's like, okay, yeah, there is like a crap ton of stuff going on screen right now. There's like 7 different explosions, and the game looks gorgeous. Like that's the biggest thing. It looks gorgeous. It's really fun to play. Just grappling around, putting on your parachute, and going your wingsuit all in one fluid motion.
I've done all that in my military career, so I mean that holds no.
Right, yeah. So you know how awesome it is. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's really cool, man. Like I
But
highly recommend you try it.
it made me want that kind of functionality in steep, like Jeff has talked about that before. How like you can go from, or you can't go from gliding down on your parachute directly into your snowboard. You have to land, switch, and then
The good news is in the crew too, you can be in a plane and it just transforms into a boat in midair.
I
why
love that.
game.
I love
Because it
that.
doesn't need to make
what they're
sense.
doing-
It's a
Yeah,
game.
it doesn't. It's all about having fun, and I feel like ridiculous stuff like that you're just like eliminating a barrier right there. You don't have to go to a garage to change vehicles, or go to a hangar to switch to an airplane. So.
All right. Well, I guess I will go next because I've got a couple things that I want to talk about. And the first thing I want to talk about is Pyre. I'm a huge fan of Supergiant Games. I've platinumed everything they've put out on PS4. And so I finished Pyre next week, and I'm going to play through it again so I can platinum it. But Pyre is so I first played this at PAX East with Finneman, who sadly is not on tonight, but he sends his regards, Susan. My first impression at PAX when I played it was I was like, this is occultic. I think JT is dying.
We've lost him
He's gone.
live on air.
JT, bark twice if you're in Milwaukee.
He doesn't have his feet on him right now, so he can't live.
He'll be back. But I first played this at PAX East. Me and Finneman played it together. And at first I was like, oh, this is occultic basketball. This is really cool. Played for about half an hour. The first thing I noticed about Pyre is that the music. I mean, Supergiant Games and specifically Darren Korb does absolutely phenomenal work with soundtracks, and I think Pyre is probably his greatest work so far. I actually downloaded the soundtrack on my phone. I've been listening to it all day. It's absolutely phenomenal. It does a great job in setting the tone for the game. It's it's got a really mournful tone to it. The game itself, the gameplay hook sounds simple, but I mean, over time, as you recruit more players, or they're not really players, but more members of your team, which is called the Nightwings. Everybody has a different ability, right? Like Headwind, for example, he's fast. He can dash around people, and then you've got Jodariel, who's this big demon, and when she fires her aura at opposing players, it's much wider. She's much more powerful. She has a ground pound. These characters have so much personality. Like there's very little spoken English in the game. Most of the characters speak some gibberish language. There is English, but it's mostly limited to characters speaking in your head. I really came to care about my entire cast of characters, and the game really does a good job of pulling at your heartstrings in the sense that they're all trying to get free of this place, right? They're all trying to. Everybody's there in exile, and they're all trying to get back to the Commonwealth. And the only way to get back to the Commonwealth is when the stars align. You do the liberation rites, and then you have to pick one character that you lose for the rest of the game. And so you have a dilemma, right? Like you have to send somebody back if you win the liberation rite. But at the same time, who do you send back, right? Each one of these characters is there unjustly, and they have a very compelling reason or need to get back. But at the same time, if these characters that you've become attached to are really good, if they're some of your best players, then you're kind of in a quandary there. You're like, well, I really like this guy. I want to send him back to his wife, but at the same time, I need him here. Because so eventually you start agonizing over these choices. And it's just an absolutely phenomenal game. I think Finneman's going to do the review for it. And I want to say that there is an announcer, for lack of a better term, called The Voice. And he speaks to you throughout the game. And he basically narrates the rights, which are, you're combating against another team. Those are the rights. And he narrates it much like a sportscaster would, of course, in a very, very interesting, kind of occultic way. And it's hinted that he's a judge up in the Commonwealth. They don't ever really clear that up. But the first time I heard this guy, I was like, I need this man to narrate my life. Like he sounds so pompous and arrogant, and like as soon as the rights start, he's like, yes, the stars align once again as the night.
That was the first thing that I thought that was like so annoying.
Oh no, dude, I loved it.
I'm like, I want to punch this dude in the face.
I loved it. Like, dude, I want to wake up in the morning and go downstairs and hear that guy saying, "John awoke on a gloomy Thursday morning and made an omelet with avocados." Like,
yeah, that dude was sitting in my kitchen. I'd swivel and boom, right there.
No, dude, it's utterly fantastic. I want this guy. Just for that, JT, I'm gonna do that voice every podcast for a month, just for you. I'm going to say.
I think that announcer guy needs to run our Twitter account.
I'm going to say, JT, it is now time for you to speak. Yeah.
No, it was a great way to get me to not speak.
Well, that's the goal.
Are the basketball elements in that game actually good?
Yes, actually they are. So every one of those characters has a special ability. And you can even dunk like there's like they're not nets, they're pyres, right? The titular pyres, and the whole goal. Each one has like 100 hit points, and there are modifiers and accessories you can equip to kind of change the strength of your pyre or the opposing team's pyre.
So it's kind of like a basketball RPG of some sort.
That's exactly almost what it is, and you can you can even dunk it. Like you can jump over the opposing teams and you can slam it into the pyre, and the further you jump, the more hit points you take off their pyre. And it is just and there are multiple endings to the game depending on who you free, and here's the thing, you cannot free everybody. The game is set up so where you will have at least 4 people on your team or as part of your group. We just lost JT. He'll be back. You can't free everybody, so when you're nearing the end, you have to really balance what these people have been separated from in their life in the Commonwealth against the needs of your team. And I also want to point out, there's no game over. Like if you lose a right, the game keeps going, right? Like if you lose a liberation right, that a member of the opposing team gets returned to the Commonwealth and gets freed from their exile, and the game just continues. So the only way to do that is if you want to change that, you have to reload a save. But I wouldn't recommend doing that simply because this game is best played all the way through with no interruptions. And it's a long game too. Like for a Supergiant game, or like it's a long game. Like I remember Bastion was it took me about 4 or 5 hours. Transistor was about 3 or 4 hours. And the campaign in Pyre took me about 11 hours. It's an absolutely phenomenal game. I could not recommend cannot recommend it enough. And it will be talked about when I think about my game of the year at the end of the year. It will definitely be a conversation.
Yeah, I've never played a game developed by Supergiant, but I've been wanting to play it once because there's basketball stuff in it. Like I'm a huge basketball fan.
Yes, I can endorse what Susan is saying. Bastion is an absolutely phenomenal game. Please, Greg, bring it to Switch. I need it on Switch. I want to take it with me. Yeah, Pyre, and I've also been playing today. I tried out and I'll go through this real quick because I know you guys are sick of me talking about Final Fantasy. But I played the Final Fantasy 15 multiplayer beta.
I know you guys are sick of me talking about this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Just for a second.
Is more important than my audience.
Just for a second. I'm referring to you guys, not the audience. But the Final Fantasy 15 multiplayer, that's why I love Susan, because of her honesty. The Final Fantasy 15 multiplayer, it's fine. It's going to need a lot more meat on the bone, I think, in order to capture anybody's interest long term. It is very obviously set during the World of Ruin portion of the game because all the lights are out, or at least all the lights are dimming. And think Final Fantasy 15 combat, but with other players, and you go on missions. I'm sure there's more to it. This is just a beta, but overall, I think it's something. It's cool. I don't know if it's going to grab my attention or not in the long run. Like I said, there needs to be more to it, but it's so far what I've seen is fine. It's fun.
Do you think it's better than Final Fantasy 12?
Yes, but then again, I saw a piece of white dog turd on the sidewalk the other day as I was taking a jog, and I thought that was better than Final Fantasy 12. So that's just
shameful.
Poor Jeff. But that's just me. You guys know my opinion on Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah. The wrong one, you mean? Yeah, yes. We're aware.
Oh, geez. Here we go. Okay.
No, you're wrong. I mean, it's just, you just are. We don't have to dissect it or nothing because you're just.
These guys remind me every time I bring it up how wrong I am. We'll go ahead. I think that's all I've got. We'll go ahead and move on to Susan. Susan, what have you been playing recently?
Recently, I've been playing a little indie game that y'all probably haven't heard of. It's called Minecraft.
Tell me about this.
Once or twice.
This is new to me.
No, I never touched Minecraft because 2 reasons. 1, it was a PC game, and I don't play games on PC. And 2, I am not an artistically creative person. If you give me a bunch of Legos, I will make a wall because that's about as far as my creativity goes in that direction. So digital Legos never appealed to me, so I never played the game. And then my husband got me a Switch for my birthday, and I had no interest in playing Zelda, so I was looking for something to play, and Minecraft was on it. So I said, okay, heck, I guess I'll finally try this game that has made $1 gazillion and everybody in the entire world plays. And I've been having lots of fun with it. My husband is also playing, and we have learned that what I enjoy is going and finding stuff and hoarding it. Mm-hmm. And then what he likes is building things. He doesn't want to go find stuff. He just wants to make, and he makes amazing structures. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I can appreciate that. I don't have the patience to do that. I will go look in every single corner of this mine and just drain it of all its resources, and I will stick them in a box. And so it works out really well.
So you're a hoarder and he's a builder.
Yes.
That's amazing. So actually, Susan, you had a pretty incredible story about a house you made.
I did. Oh, yes. So, okay. So when I first started playing Minecraft, at the spawn point, I built a house like you do. And then I went wandering, and this is before I knew you could make maps, or I really had not been playing the game long, so I didn't understand it very much. And I went exploring, and I got lost. I could not find my house to save my life. So I was like, all right, well, time to build another house. And from that location, that's kind of where I centralized, and I spent the next 80 hours playing the game and building this house. And I ended up building this 2-level house out of terracotta and 3 different colors of stained glass, and it's got lights that turn on automatically at sunset. It's got 3 dogs. It's got white carpet throughout. It's beautiful. I love it. I love
property value's got to be through the roof.
The property value is amazing. It's not an overly remarkable house, but it's very pretty, and I loved it. So one of the mechanics in the game is if you die in the game, you go back to the last place you slept. Great. Okay. I went to the Nether, which is Minecraft's version of hell, and there's certain resources you can only get there. So I'm like, woo, doing my thing, and I die. Fine. Unfortunately, I had moved my bed since I slept in it last. So the game couldn't find where to put me, so it put me somewhere else. And I'm like, what's happening?
Where's
right
my
now?
house, yo?
What's that? I did not know. And I was back in the original spawn point of the game, and I didn't have a map. I couldn't find anything. I thought for sure I had lost everything that I had spent 80 hours building.
And I remember you putting that on Twitter, and I people were just like, "Holy shit, Susan, are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah.
Oh, I felt so bad.
But what was really cool, and this goes back to what I was saying about most people in the community are awesome. They were so helpful. They had really good ideas for, okay, here's a good way to find yourself back to your house, and have you tried this, and this is another thing you can do. The world is just really, really big. It's not gone. You just don't know where it is. So you just got to start exploring, and you'll find it again, we promise. And just all of these people that I don't know, all like just kind of swarming to help me out. There was one guy who's like, if you send me your file, I will render out a map for you to help you find your house.
I love the gaming community.
Right?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they were so kind and so generous. And I thought for sure someone was going to make fun of me because I was being dumb. And nope.
You know, honestly, like it's stuff like that. Like we talked about the troll who'd been bothering you for 2 years earlier, right? And stuff like this that gives me hope for the gaming community. You know, because people coming together and helping each other, and people who don't know you, people who just see like, oh, she's talking about Minecraft. Let's see what she's saying. Oh shit, I gotta help her. And I those are the kind of stories that I really love to hear.
Yeah.
And this story, as it happens, if I remember correctly, Susan, actually has a happy ending.
It does. It does. I took their advice and I listened to what they were saying. They're like, you know, the world is actually 9. It's a 3x3 square, and you know, you're just in one of the squares, and and build a map, and then go this way, and blah 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 blah. And I used the techniques they gave to me, and I finally navigated my way back to my house, and I was so. It was a happiness.
You'll never forget that. Yeah, that's cool.
like, hey, I was happy to get all my stuff back because you know, I was very, very proud of it. But it meant so much that all of these strangers or people who just know me from Twitter or know me because I was at Joystick or you know, Games Radar or whatever, helped me get back to my stupid house and all the problems, you know, like.
And that must have made the act of finding your house so much more meaningful than just stumbling upon it in the dark. You're like, oh shit, yes. There it is. I just wasted 5 hours of my life looking for my house. You
exactly.
Know, like,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, Susan, are you ever going to make the mistake of sleeping anywhere else but your Minecraft bed ever again?
I will never move my bed unless I sleep in it.
See, I feel like you know what? I'm actually glad this happened to you. Not because I'm not glad for the stress you went through. Well, no. What I mean is this was, I think, an overall positive experience because it's an example of how the gaming community can come together to help one another, and in the end, the act of finding your house was made more meaningful due to the fact that you had so much support and you had so many people, and you know, people can say, oh, it's just a house in Minecraft, but it's the act itself that gives finding the house deeper meaning, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It meant so much to me that, like, yeah, exactly like you said, like if I had just stumbled across it, like, oh, dope, there's my house, that would have been like, yeah, I got my house back. But for people to reach out and help me like that in such a generous way really made it much more meaningful.
That's why I really, really like Minecraft.
people are super cool about Minecraft, except for the creator. He's dead.
I was gonna say it. I was gonna see if you were gonna say it, but
I'm so glad Microsoft bought them, so I don't have to feel bad about like paying money and spending time in it.
Yeah, you know, I know he doesn't have anything to do with Minecraft anymore, but every time I play it, there's always that little thought in the back of my head that says, I can't believe something this pure and joyous came from that.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay, so if you play the PC version of Minecraft, the OG Minecraft, right? You have to figure out how to make everything, the recipes to make everything, by yourself. Whether it's 3 bars of iron and 1 stick, or 9 bars of iron and 2 sticks, you have to figure that out all by yourself. The game is actively working against you having fun. The console version, which is to say the Microsoft version, all that shit's laid out for you. They're like, we don't want to get in the way of your creativity and your enjoyment. We're going to tell you how to make stuff. You still got to find all the things that go into the recipe, but we're not going to keep anything a secret from you. Just go, have fun, enjoy your game.
So basically, this is the console version is the non-oppressive version of Minecraft. Is what
It's the non-dick version.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
that's a really good way to put it. I didn't mean to put you in the hot seat, Susan, but I remember that story on Twitter, and I loved it. I loved how it ended, and I just thought it was a really uplifting story.
It was. I mean, it was super, super kind, and it made me really, really happy.
I'm so glad you got your fucking house back.
Thank you.
Anything else you wanted to bring up, Susan, before we move on?
I'm sure you guys have already talked about it to death, but I'm like the only person I know who loves Prey. I love that game. I played it through twice. I think it's fantastic, and y'all are smoking crack.
I know.
Will Susan and John ever agree on something?
so
no, because he has bad taste.
I do have terrible taste. Except in Friends. I have great.
You just found something to agree
on. But so hold on. We've got somebody else in this podcast who likes Prey, right?
I don't think anyone else has played it. I own it. I was waiting for the right time to dive in.
So I will say that Anthony and I have a bet going, just to remind people in chat, if Xenoblade Chronicles 2 releases this year, he has to live stream The Evil Within all the way through. And if I lose, I have to and I hated Prey with a fucking passion. I have to stream Prey all the way through, the entire way. So I am very much looking forward to watching that.
I can understand not loving Prey. I cannot understand hating it. I don't get that.
There was something about, so here's the thing, right? Like, people keep telling me, oh, it's BioShock in space. It's BioShock in space.
It is.
And so I played it, and a few things put me off. Like, instantly the combat, specifically the melee combat, I didn't feel had any weight behind it whatsoever. And fighting those, what are they called? What are the aliens called in that game again?
Typhons.
Typhons, right? The Typhons. You know, they can hide as cups. I thought the fact that they could hide as inorganic, inanimate objects was really cool. But I found the actual act of fighting them to be just an excruciating exercise in patience for me. I didn't like the gunplay. I didn't like Morgan Yu.
Okay, here's something interesting, right? So my husband played it. He played as male Morgan. I played it. I played as female Morgan. I don't think I'd like the game if I played as a dude either.
Really?
There's subtle differences in the way the other characters respond to you. If you're a dude or a chick.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah,
like there's one line and I only noticed this because I was obsessed with the game, so like I had the dialogue down and I was watching him play. You go into one office, for example, and it's the office of the person who was the head of the station. If you play as a woman, January says to you the set lines and then adds, I think he respected you.
Huh.
And that line isn't there for male Morgan.
Well, maybe if I lose this bet with Anthony, which I don't think I will, but maybe if I do, I will go back and play as female Morgan Yu. Although I will say I do think the ability to play as either a male or a female with the same name I think is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's rad.
And I'm glad they kept it Morgan Yu for both as opposed to like Morgana Yu or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something about Prey that rubbed me the wrong way. I felt like it tried too hard to be BioShock.
How far into it did you get?
Okay, so full disclosure, I only got about 3 or 4 hours into it.
Okay.
And I don't know what the length of the campaign is.
No, here's the thing. You're not wrong that the combat when you first start, like first start, is not fun. It's not. Like you're attacking mimics with a wrench, and it's hard, and they're taking like half your health. And it's very awkward. You really have to approach those first few hours like it's not a shooter. Like you are just a weak-ass person on a station, and you don't know what these things are, so you gotta like avoid them and hide and stuff like that until you have decent firepower to take them on. And then it starts to get really good, because then the story starts to kick in. You start to feel a bit more aware of your surroundings and able to master your surroundings, and it gets much more satisfying.
Well, if I end up losing, I'll tell you what, even if I don't, and even if I end up winning that bet, maybe I'll give it another go around.
I would recommend it. I think you really would enjoy the story a great deal.
Yeah, we'll see. I did think there were certain innovations to be had. Like I thought the glue gun was a really cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know what I mean, guys? Like it's like I can't really put my finger on what.
No, I totally get you. I do.
One thing rubbed me the wrong way. I was just like, it just isn't doing it for me.
Yep, I get it.
So, John, I'll back you up. I think just sometimes you can't explain it. It's just a combination of everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because we're talking about Arcane. I have Dishonored on PC. I bought it at launch, and I've tried 2 or 3 times, and like I appreciate it, but I don't have fun with it. And that's just sometimes you just have to accept that something just doesn't jive with you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, and I feel like my problem, and I'm sure you guys will relate, is that everybody was singing the praises of Prey, like on Twitter. Everybody's like, "Oh, Prey's great," and I felt like I was playing it, and I was like, I don't like this, and I should be liking it, so I have to try to force myself to like it.
Don't do that. Oh,
yeah,
no,
I ended. Yeah, I know, and I ended up that, and ultimately, Susan, that's why I stopped. I was like, if I have to force myself to like this game, then I shouldn't be playing it.
It can also, it can also be a state of mind thing. Like the first time I played Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, I was not
Capitan Todd.
I was not in a good place, and I was trying to distract myself with this happy, cute game, and I hated it. I thought it was garbage. I'm like, well, I don't. And then when, a few weeks later, when I was in a better mental place, I played it again, and I thought it was absolutely delightful, and I loved it. And I played the entire thing through.
It's interesting you say that, because after I said this, I want to move on to Brandon. But I have told people before, like it, especially in your childhood or your teen years, it's like when we have fond memories and nostalgic feelings about these games, I don't think it's even the game itself. It's whether or not that game came along at the right time in your life.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why I love Final Fantasy VI so much. And one of the reasons I love Chrono Trigger so much, because
And for me, Earthbound.
And yeah, exactly, right. I was going through a very traumatic time in my life, and that's one of the reasons I have such fond memories of these games. But Brandon, I want to move on to you, dude. What have you been playing? So I know the answer is going to be Overwatch. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about Doomfist?
Doomfist is super annoying to play against. So today's the first day you've been able to play him in like the ranked competitive mode, and so he just kind of like walked over our entire team. He just kind of like walks up to you and just starts comboing you, and you're stunned and you can't do anything.
So let me ask you this about Doomfist. Here's what I don't get about Doomfist. He's got a giant robot fist.
Massive gauntlet on his right arm.
It's a huge gauntlet, and he's a projectile guy, right?
I mean, not really. Like all his cooldowns are all melee based, like combo abilities. He has like an uppercut, he has like a slam, and then like a rocket punch.
And he's purely an offense guy, right?
And then his primary fire is he shoots needles out of his knuckles.
That's so lame.
Not really.
Oh,
It's
no,
kinda
I just
cool
like
to do that,
if I've got a giant metal fist, I'm gonna walk up and knock the shit out of somebody. I don't.
He does do that. He kills you in one hit with the rocket punch. He charges up the rocket punch. He punches you. You go flying back. You hit a wall and you die.
He's a villain, right? Like he's like the first
Yeah,
straight
he's-
up Overwatch
absolutely
bad guy.
He's a bad guy. Yeah.
So what's he doing hanging out with all the heroes and fighting with them?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of bad guys like Widowmaker, Reaper.
Oh, okay.
Or
But I mean,
Sombra is a villain.
but he's much more unambiguous in his villainy, right? Like he's
no, like he's one of those guys who doesn't see himself as a villain. Like I'm not gonna get into
one of those,
the
yeah. Like
deep
me.
lore of Overwatch because I don't really care about the Overwatch lore.
Okay.
But his deal is that like he thinks that the world will grow stronger through battle, so he just wants to fight everybody, which makes him an asshole. Makes him an asshole.
So he's Donald
obviously.
Trump. He's Donald Trump. Okay. Let me ask you this. I saw an article on Kotaku, and I didn't read it specifically because I wanted to ask you about it. It said Overwatch players are mourning Roadhog. What does that mean?
Yeah, he's the worst character in the game now.
Is he really? That sucks because
He
he's
absolutely
your
is.
dude.
Yeah. He has a 43% win rate across the board.
That is terrible.
I know obviously they try to balance it 50-50, so they fucked up big time with him.
Man, you need to play another game.
I do. You're right.
All right. We'll move on to Jay, and then we'll move on to our big topic for the night. Hey, Jay, what have you been playing this week, dude?
Well, pretty much, I'm in the mindset right now. I'm waiting for Sonic Mania to come out. At this point, I've been playing.
I'm so excited about that.
I know. Like, I have the game pre-order. I have the final pre-ordered. I'm stoked for it.
Sonic is not better
I've
than
never
Mario
played a Sonic
before you go
game, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and they just released a special stage footage today too, and it looks cool.
The soundtrack is phenomenal.
No, it is.
I cannot wait. What are you picking it up on?
Xbox, of course.
Okay, I'm gonna grab it on Switch. I feel like that game has to be played on Switch.
Yeah, I see. I don't have a Switch, so I'm not going to play it on the Switch.
You need to get dude. Dude, you've got to get. Dude, you've got to get a Switch. Susan will attest. That is probably the dopest birthday present ever. Is a fucking.
It
Nintendo
is.
Switch.
It really is.
Yeah,
Pretty sweet.
you've got to get a fucking. Switch.
Well, once we start our
okay,
Patreon, that'll be the first goal is buy Jay a Switch.
I need to couch this awesomeness of this gift in two things. One, he gave it to me because I was unemployed and I was driving him crazy. And two, he didn't want to share his Switch, which I got for him. So
Understandable.
yeah, like I can't be mad because those are both really good reasons.
I'm not gonna lie, Susan. I was lying in bed last night playing Mario Kart, and I looked over at Vicky and I said, "Do you want to play Mario Kart?" And she looks at me, and she's quiet for like 3 seconds. She says, "Are you actually gonna let me play?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, baby, take the Switch." I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Nothing." And she takes it, and then I realized I was like, "Oh my god, I never let you play the Switch, do I?" Shit, like I baby that fucking thing, and I don't know why. But I baby it. Like if my son looks at it, I'm like, you will wipe it off after you're done with it. You will wipe the smudges off. I don't know why. Whenever I pick up a console for the first 6 months, I'm terrified of doing something to it. And it's probably just my anxiety talking. But like I dust my Switch off before I put it in the case.
Oh god.
And I put it down. Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
I judge.
I know you do.
Okay, but here you have to understand. Like the week I got my Vita, I was playing it out on my front porch, dropped it, bitched it up because it was a stone porch. Literally taking my 3DS out of the box in the kitchen, drop it, bitch it up immediately. So they were both, I mean, they both still work perfectly. They're fine. It's not a big deal. But I'm clearly past the point of being afraid of screwing up my machines.
Yeah, no, like this is only for the first 6 months. Like when I got my Vita, I was like, I can't let anything happen to my Vita, and now it's got like a big chip in the screen, and I don't give a shit. Jay, anything else, man? Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. Let me actually talk about the games I've been playing.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that, Jay.
Yeah. Of course, I'm playing NBA 2K17. It's an addiction at this point. I have like 500 hours in it.
Jesus Christ.
Wow, Jesus.
Yeah, I put like 500, 600 hours into all the 2K games.
I'm speechless. I don't know what the fuck to say about that.
Yeah. What else? I've been playing Steep on and off. That's a cool game.
Oh, JT with your man.
Did you ever get the DLC, Jay?
No, I actually have not bought it.
Yeah, just wait for a sale, but it is pretty cool.
The only bad thing I'll say about Steep is I hope they fired whoever thought making the mountains talk was a good idea.
It's the worst
What?
writing I've ever seen in a video
Like I do
game.
mention it's like I am this mountain. It's like I used to be great, but now I am not.
No,
Lied
you
to
are
me.
punking
Lied
me
to
right
me.
now.
Yeah, I'm okay with the idea of giving mountain stories, but the way they gave it is just like they have these voicey, like one of the mountains is an old man. He's like, "Oh, I've been around."
If you thought the announcer in Pride was cool, the announcer mountain voices and Steep are not cool.
Oh my god, I'm pulling this up on YouTube as soon as we're done. I've got to say this.
But,
I did not know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The mountains actually narrate themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they have
That's
cutscenes
hilarious.
voiced by them and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Do they all have different voices?
Yeah,
Oh my God,
There's like
what
30
the
of them.
That is the most pretentious fucking thing I have ever heard.
It's pretty
But
great.
it's a great game nonetheless. Just that's like the only bad thing I can think about it.
it feels like they like knew that Steep was kind of a super niche game, and they're like, we have to like somehow make this, give it a hook.
We have to.
And they're
We
like,
have to separate.
That's what they came up with.
We have to separate ourselves from SSX.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been here
Well-
for 1,000 years. I've seen some shit.
I mean, they did try. SSX did try to like deify the mountain itself. And, like,
Yeah, but
competitive-
but they didn't give it a voice with a
But no,
backstory
they didn't go
and
that far to like, give it narrated storyline.
Like I have no issue with the concept. The execution is just so like you couldn't more miss the mark.
Is it like super melodramatic and overbearing when they do it? Yeah.
Yeah, like it is.
Well, it's a mountain. I mean,
It's pretty majestic.
If you ever play Lost Odyssey, it's like there's like 1,000-year stories.
Oh god.
Yeah, yeah,
Except for they're not
Oh
meaningful.
God, that's bad. That's bad.
But okay. I picked up Doom when it was $15. I've been playing that a little bit. That's a cool
you're just
game.
Not playing it? That game rocks.
Yeah, I'm just now playing it. I beat Crash Bandicoot 2 today finally.
Did you ever
I
finish
started
one, or
playing-
did you give up on one?
Oh, I beat one like
Oh,
weeks ago.
nice.
I had
Oh,
to take a break. I started Res Infinite today since I've never got past the first stage in that before.
nice.
It's my kind of game. Aesthetically, it's
yeah.
cool.
This should be everyone's kind of game.
I want
Yeah,
agreed.
to play that game Stone so bad.
I'm saving it for when I get a PSVR. When it's like
Yeah,
Yeah,
dead and
yeah.
in for $100, I'm getting PSVR and I'm getting Res.
I feel like Res on PSVR might give me like an episode. I'm not sure.
I
Like-
want to try it on VR so bad. I've played it with psychedelics, but I've never played it in VR.
I have a tough time playing Thumper, so I can't imagine what
Thumper
playing
was great
Res.
too.
Yeah,
Thumper's
but Thumper
amazing.
has this kind of menacing undertone to it.
It does. It's
that
almost a
Res
horror
does
game.
not.
Yeah.
It's almost a horror
Rhythm
game, isn't it?
violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And,
I remember playing. I was Jay. No, Jay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
no, you're good. You're good. I just want to get done with this so we can actually talk about the main topic. I've been playing Titanfall 2 multiplayer a lot. They just added Frontier Defense in it.
Good man.
And since Susan's here, I'm actually talking about mobile games for a second.
You're speaking her language.
Yeah, I've been playing Threes a lot. Threes is like my
Oh,
favorite
yeah,
game to play
classic.
on the go. I play at work a lot when I'm bored, and I've been playing Downwell a lot on my phone. as well.
Downwell is awesome.
Like,
Yes.
like I know people prefer the Steam, playing it for controller, but I like it on my phone a whole lot because it's just an easy game to pick up and go.
I played on my. I played on my Vita. I would love Downwell on my Switch. Because ever since Switch came out,
And
yeah,
I wish
like
JT was still here because I've been playing Super Beat Sonic, which was originally a Vita music game. It's made by the people who used to make DJ Max. I picked it up on my Xbox One, and that's been fun.
Dang.
But also, I like Korean music games.
You crammed a shitload of games into this past week.
It's just a lot of pick up and play games.
Damn.
Just-
good on you, man. Shit.
I just have all the games I feel like playing for like 30 minutes every once in a while pinned on my Xbox One dashboard on the Xbox One ecosystem. Sponsored by Taco Bell.
Oh. So everybody in chat, I'll mention this real quick. The other day, I tweeted out a picture of Aaron Greenberg's tweet in 2013 where he said, you don't need to eat Taco Bell to play Xbox One. And then I tweeted out his tweet from a few days ago, and he says, Taco Bell and Xbox One X are my two favorite things, and now they're together.
I saw that. Yeah.
And so I tweeted it out, and I've got the tweet right here. I pulled it up. I said in the game of consoles, you either win or you make promotional deals you want scoffed at out of sheer hubris. And it went viral, and everybody started tweeting it. And then Adam Boyes retweeted it, and he looped in Aaron Greenberg, and he said, "Aaron, you've got to admit this is pretty good." At least Aaron didn't block me, so you know that's good. I was expecting to be blocked. So I don't really know the guy or his temperament, but to me it was just like, and I had to tell people, you know, and like I had people, and Susan, you can relate to this. I had people on both sides of the fence. People saying this man is a hero of PlayStation, and then another group saying this guy fucking hates Xbox. And I was like, guys, it's none of those. Like I appreciate fine irony. Like
well, that's the thing. Like it doesn't matter which company did it. Whoever that's just funny.
It's hilarious. Like I don't understand why we have to tie this to console loyalty. Like I thought it was great, you know, and
it's an excellent own. Come on, let's just all enjoy it.
I mean, so yeah, we won't get too deep into the Taco Bell.
And in the end, Taco Bell is still great.
Taco Bell is a blight on mankind.
No, it's so good. Like when you
Taco Bell's great because you know you're like eating like junk food.
Unless no, you know what? Unless we're talking about the grilled stuffed burrito, which is my jam.
Look,
about cheesy gordita crunch.
Don't make me hungry.
Look. No one is going to sit here and say that Taco Bell is good food. But you go there, you got $10, you come out with a sack of soft tacos, you stick them in your fridge, and then you have instant taco. It's like 2 a.m. You're sitting there and you're like,
that in the microwave for 20 seconds.
No, crunchy tacos. Why are you doing soft
Susan
tacos?
gets it.
No,
Susan
soft. No. She's right. No. Soft tacos, so you throw them in the microwave and they're perfectly good.
Yes.
God,
because the crunchy ones will just get all soggy.
John, do you ever have a good opinion on anything?
I do have good opinions on things. When I get one, I'm going to let you know.
No, John, you don't. I hate to break it to you. Happy birthday!
Jay, you don't get to talk anymore.
Happy birthday to me, I guess. I also want to point this out. I love how whenever Susan is on the podcast, like we're all talking over each other. Whenever she says "look," like everybody shuts the fuck up. I just want to point that out. It's a recurring trend I've noticed.
Look,
but
Mario Party 4 is the only decent Mario game.
Shut up! Shut your mouth! Don't go there. Don't go there.
I don't even know where to begin with that.
Nobody does.
Nobody. We can't explain it. We don't endorse it, and we don't understand it. But before we start going down that path, we're going to talk about our topic tonight. So, and I'm doing this just to keep Jay's opinions to himself. So I thought it would be a good idea to talk about narrative in games and whether or not they have caught up.
I want some Taco Bell right now. I'm sorry, I can't focus for the rest.
Taco Bell narrative in video games.
So we're gonna talk about Taco Bell in video games, right? Like,
we're gonna talk about it.
We're gonna. Nice. That was good. That was a great dad joke. You're not even a dad.
I know.
So this will be an interesting conversation because I actually know where Jeff stands on this. So I know there's going to be dissenting opinions. But narrative in games, have they caught up to film or other mediums like television or books?
No.
God, no.
I don't know if I agree.
Well, again, you're wrong.
I don't know if I agree.
Next topic.
I would have said no until I played What Remains of Edith Finch.
Okay.
Sorry, John. Can I jump in quick?
Yes, you can. This is an open forum. Anybody jump in.
I just want to say my bit, and then I'll let you guys. I think that games can do things with the narrative and the way that they tell stories that films and other mediums obviously can't because of the nature of it. But I would say that the actual quality of the writing in general across the video game industry.
We have David Cage, the absolute highest tier.
When Hideo Kojima is considered one of the top storytellers in video games, that just. I'm not saying there's not. You can take the best written video game, and it might be better than the worst written movie. But across the board, the gulf in quality is still so high. But I do appreciate What Remains of Edith Finch. I do appreciate the way it tells the story, but I don't think that story itself is anything that hundreds of other films, don't have better stories.
I don't know, man. I mean, there are sequences in that game that, like, so. Take almost any other game. You can turn almost any other game into a movie, and it has been done over and over to mostly disastrous effect, right? But there are sequences in that game, and I specifically am referring to the cannery. No, I'm not going to say anything else about it.
Right.
There are sequences in that game that simply can only be done in a video game. Can only be done in a video game.
Okay, hold on. Not only be done in a video game, only be done in a video game in which you have absolutely no agency.
Yes, that's
because that's something that's really important to remember, is that you have zero agency in what remains of Edith Finch. Now, I worship that game. I love it so much. I love how it tells its story. It's incredibly moving. It's a masterpiece, but it relies on your inactivity. So when you start comparing the narratives of games to narratives of books and movies, you are full on cheating by using Edith Finch as an example.
Well, then, okay. Well, then we don't have to use Edith Finch. Let's use something like Journey or The Last of Us, right? We'll go with The Last of Us for now, right?
I think The Last of Us is closer, and it's certainly but when you come down to it, its story is really fairly simplistic.
It is, but I don't think it's the story. I think it's the characters, and I think it's the way that story is portrayed. Troy Baker Troy Baker is one of the guys that and Ashley Johnson. They made that game what it is, right? Yeah. And so had they not poured their heart and souls into those roles, I don't think I would have felt as much for those characters as I did. So I don't necessarily think it's the story. I think it's how that story is told. And I think it's the characters that are involved in that story. I mean, at the end of the day, I agree with you. It's at the end of the day, when you peel back all the layers from The Last of Us, it's a zombie game.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it is. But at the same time, I was more invested in the outcome of Joel and Ellie's story than I have been almost any film I've seen. And then
you need to watch better movies, brother.
I don't know. Like the only movie that came close to that for me was The Road. Right? Like I thought The Road was a superlative apocalyptic film. Right? Like if anybody in chat or anybody here has not seen The Road, do yourselves a favor and either go see it or read the book by Cormac.
Read the book. Don't watch the movie. Read the book.
The book is phenomenal, and there's a scene in that book that involves a baby that could not be filmed. You know what I'm talking about, Susan?
Yeah.
John, I will say one of the advantages I think that games have over films, and that you might be recognizing when you say you get attached to those characters, and that's why you care about that so much. A lot of video games are over 10 hours long. Last of Us is around 15 hours.
Yeah.
And this is something that films, they have to tell their story in an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Things like television, a lot of times, can tell these long-form stories much better. Mm-hmm. And I think something like The Last of Us, if it was adapted, would be better suited to a miniseries or a television show than trying to cram, because that's why it affected you so much, because you spend so much time with these people. That's why you got attached to them, because you've known them. But in a movie, it can be over so quickly that even though it was really well acted, really well written, you just aren't in that world for long enough to have the same attachment.
That's an interesting way to put it, actually, man. And it's interesting that you talk about adapting something like The Last of Us as a television show, because I have said many times, put it on HBO. Make it
with no commercials.
Make it one season. Cast Maisie Williams, who is Arya Stark, as Ellie, and cast Josh Brolin as Joel, and just let it go. That would be fucking amazing to me. It looks like Susan doesn't want that to happen at all.
No, it's okay. The other thing you have to weigh into this conversation is that the pressures put on video content, TV and movies, are entirely different than video games, because the monetization of the video game is all right there, right? Like you get the person to buy the game, great, done. With a TV show, you have to be able to sell commercials against it. You have to be able to, the content has to fit the time slot where you think you can monetize it best. That will probably impact how it's written. Movies, same deal. You have to market it. You have to make sure it gets into enough theaters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there are decisions made in crafting those that have absolutely nothing to do with how good the story is. You look at something like Suicide Squad, which
great movie, by the way.
There's a good movie in there. It's just been destroyed by all these executives who are like, no, it needs to be this. No, it needs to be this.
The edit in that movie is really bad.
It's terrible.
Like I think I tried watching the first 10 minutes. And I was like, I can't do this.
I hated it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was confirmed, but what I think happened was they basically gave the movie to a trailer company.
They gave it to a trailer company, so it's like the whole movie's edited like an hour and a half long trailer.
Yeah. And it's very clear that the story as originally written got hacked to ribbons and then got
which movie is this again?
Suicide Squad. Here's my theory. Okay, y'all have seen it, right?
Unfortunately.
Okay, so you know how the squad is going in to rescue this very important person, right? They're going into and they have to rescue this person, and it ends up being their boss, right?
Yeah, it's,
y'all remember this?
Yeah, Amanda Waller. Yeah.
Amanda Waller. It was originally supposed to be Bruce Wayne.
Whoa.
This is my theory. If you go into that, if you watch that entire movie, remembering that this is all supposed to be part of the connected universe, and set it up like that was originally supposed to be Bruce Wayne, and it was a Bruce Wayne Batman thing, and then for whatever reason that got scrubbed, and they were like, well, fuck, who do we have them rescuing then? Who's important enough? Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
You know what happened is people hated Batman vs Superman, so they hit the panic button and tried to make Suicide Squad as much of its own thing and remove as many of those connections as they could. I'm
there you go.
That's what happened.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, let me. I want to ask you guys this, right? I want to bring it back to games real quick. We actually have a question on Twitter too that we should answer, but I want to take it back to games real quick. When we're talking about comparing the narrative in a game to the narrative in a movie, what gets me is that, and maybe this is the reason that I feel a deeper connection with the story in a lot of games than I do with a lot of movies, in that in a game, I am an active participant as opposed to a film where I'm a passive observer. And I feel that as the medium evolves, that aspect is only getting stronger and stronger. Like Jeff mentioned earlier, he mentioned Kojima, Hideo Kojima, and the fact that Kojima is considered to be one of the best storytellers in the genre. I don't know. I don't think that's true anymore. I think if you were to ask any gamer right now, or like, hey, would you consider Hideo Kojima to be a masterclass of storytelling? I don't think almost anybody would say no. I think you would hear names like Neil Druckmann or Greg Kasavin, or people who are crafting. Like I feel.
John, like, I love you, but nobody is picking Greg Kasavin over Hideo Kojima because nobody knows.
I would.
I know you would, but
very few people would. Even
you poll of the top 5 video game writer, directors, whatever. Hideo Kojima is on there.
That is so sad.
Top 3, 100%.
That is so depressing. It really
it's true.
is. I don't know. I mean.
Well, okay, but here's okay. While you are absolutely correct that the stories that Hideo Kojima comes up with are batshit,
cockamamie.
That's a nice way of putting it.
He is at least attempting to do something other than this is the reason why the guy goes shooty bang.
And he's getting people's attention too.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, the man is creative. He has
he was
a
ahead of his
vision.
time with MGS too. Yeah.
He has that is completely correct.
That's
yeah.
true. Yeah, I'll give you that.
He has a perspective, and even though it's Death Stranding, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know what the
I'm very much looking forward to playing that in 2022.
That's some crazy shit. Did you see like their fog technology or whatever?
Oh god.
What do they get? Yeah, they've showed us all this shit. And it's like, show us the game. Like,
yeah, what is this?
The game doesn't exist, bro.
Yeah, I guarantee
it's like a kind of a wispy idea in his head. But I mean, I would rather have Kojima doing weird all day long than have another goddamn Gears of War.
Yes, thank you. I will agree with you on that. In fact, when I asked this question on Twitter, I said I said, hey, tonight one of the things we're going to talk about is narrative in games and whether or not they have hit the level of films yet, right? And somebody actually tweeted back at me, and I won't say it because I don't want to embarrass the guy, but he says, absolutely. 2 great examples are Gears and Halo. And I was like, dude, like you guys.
Halo's okay. If you are talking about Halo as an entire franchise thing, its lore is actually pretty good.
I don't know. Maybe I've played Halo 1 and Halo 3 and some of Halo.
Oh, Halo 3 is garbage. But I mean, if taken as a whole, like with the books and all the games and stuff, it's actually pretty good. Gears is hot garbage, and I'm sorry, you're a basic bitch if you think that's good writing.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, something I say, it doesn't really matter if it's games or movies. The only thing worse than a bad one is something boring.
Right.
I think I would rather watch or play something where the story makes no fucking sense and it's all over the place, but at least, like Susan said, maybe it's weird or crazy or does something unexpected, than play through Call of Duty World War II, which just looks to be every single war movie trope I've ever seen put into video.
Shadow of the Dam is a great example. I just feel sense.
I feel like just most video games don't try with their plots. Like I feel like they just go down like one trope, and it's just something we've already seen before.
I don't think video games need to. Like, do they need to be? Yeah, they do their own things. Like, do they need to match films?
That's the thing too. Is I know we were talking about this a couple weeks ago about game soundtracks, and we were talking about how game soundtracks, like back in the 16-bit and 32-bit era, were, that was the narrative aspect of the game, was the music.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like because we have voice acting and whatnot now, like I feel like the pressure's been put on developers more to actually incorporate like an actual narrative plot, but I still feel like the plot's not like the main priority for a game. It's like third or fourth.
Oh, it's not. It's not. I have. There's a particular game writer who's a very, very dear friend of mine, and I have heard things. I have heard stories.
I feel like the video game plots are always like thrown in like last minute. They're like, okay, we gotta do this. We gotta do
also
the plot. Like Tomb Raider. She got brought in like the last leg.
Yeah, I mean exactly. I guess I feel
that story that they'd already come up with.
And I guess I feel like because these developers aren't putting like effort into the plots, like I shouldn't put effort into trying to engage myself in them.
But to speak to John's point about narrative being as good as a movie, the narrative in a movie serves the movie, period. Yeah. Whereas to use Tomb Raider as an example, to go back to what you were saying, Lara gets a gun pretty fast in that game. She wasn't supposed to. She wasn't supposed to get a gun until way further into the game. But they came back and said, well, you're not letting the player play.
This is a video game. She's got to have a gun.
Exactly. The players want to shoot things. She has to get her gun faster. So the narrative is not in service of itself. It is in service of the mechanics of the game, more often than not. Not in every single case, but most of them.
Do you think so? Let me ask you this then, Susan. Do you think that's to the game's advantage or not?
Depends entirely on the game. Because for something like Tomb Raider, for Tomb Raider 2013, because it was it was Lara, the university student, as opposed to Lara the Tomb Raider, which she is in Rise of the Tomb Raider. For me, I think it was more important for her arc to develop naturally, right? Like for it to make sense, for her to be apologizing to a deer for having to kill it, and then gradually work her way up to defending herself and killing people to stay alive. That's not in service of game mechanics in the traditional sense, and they probably, let's be honest, reviewers would have dinged them for it.
Probably, yeah. I can see that.
Actually, I'm going to talk about Final Fantasy VIII for a second, because I feel like I finally need to like defend why I like it so much on this podcast.
Yes, you do.
I feel like Final Fantasy VIII is like a very like postmodern game. I feel like it takes like all the things that Final Fantasy VII was trying to do, like do like a perfectly like good plot and whatnot, and I feel like it kind of throws all that like away, and makes the player guess. Like, there's so many like theories. There's so many theories about Final Fantasy VIII. Like, like, is Squall actually alive? Like, does this actually happen? It's like, why is all that? Like, I feel like that's intriguing. I just find that a lot more intriguing than like the game spoofing the story.
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question, and I feel like the medium. The reason I wanted to talk about it was because I feel like the medium at some point it has to evolve.
It is evolving, though. It is.
I think it is. I think it is. It's just I don't. Sometimes I feel like it would. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it would hurry up, and maybe it's for a selfish reason. Like for example, when I say a selfish reason, here's what I mean, and this is just one example. I'm 37 years old, right? The rest of my family, who are extremely conservative, they think that, John, you're wasting. It's literally that commercial that you're like, my mom never thought I'd spend any time. I never get anywhere playing these games. Like my entire family thinks it's absolutely ridiculous that I'm a 37-year-old man playing, doing things that little kids do, right? And it is frustrating to me because I know the truth, and I know that games are not for children. Some aren't. But that is part of the reason that I feel like I wish the narrative in gaming would be. I wish narratives in games would be taken more seriously.
John, I got news for you. It won't matter. The people who have that attitude, it doesn't matter. A game could win an Oscar. They won't care. They've made up their mind. So you just need to worry about enjoying what you do. And I think we have come a long way, and games are really good now. But I also think, like Susan said, when you sit down to make an action game, you need to write a story to give you an enemy to shoot 100 of. You need to write a final boss. You need to there's just limitations that you'll never entirely get around. But it doesn't mean we can't have games like Journey or Edith Finch or the Tacoma or whatever. You just have to enjoy them. But you have to recognize that you're not gonna have The Road or whatever your favorite movies are. It's just not gonna be the same.
Just keep in mind, how long have movies been around?
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
The skills required, even if you just go back to movies in the 70s, that's like no time at all on the spectrum. Stories were told in a completely different way. The pacing was different. The way characters were written was different. Cinematography, all of that has changed and evolved and adapted as movies have gone forward, and video games will do the exact same thing.
Well, and no, go ahead, man.
I will say that I'm starting to appreciate games that are more, realizing hey, this is a video game. This isn't like a video game. We were praising The Crew 2 a while back because you can be driving a car, then you can turn into airplanes. That makes no goddamn sense. But I realize this is a game, and it's not going to be steep or the mountains talk to you.
Right.
But then you have those plot-driven games, like what remains of Edit, Finish, and Journey, and all that, and they realize that's the purpose of the game is to tell a story. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's really good that nowadays we can actually separate those two.
And by the way,
and can market it as a video game, or as a plot-driven.
If you drop enough acid, the mountains can talk to you in any game, honestly.
Exactly. Even if the game does not have a mountain in it.
My goal is now to do so many drugs that the mountains in Skyrim start talking to me. That's my goal.
The dragons already talk, so
while you're riding your horse up it vertically,
while mammoths are shooting into the air. This is I love talking about this kind of stuff with you guys. These are the kind of conversations about games that I like.
GTA 4 has the best story ever.
No, it really doesn't.
Yeah, no, it really does.
No, it
wait, what does?
GTA 4 does.
What? That's good. What?
It actually does. It does have a good story, though.
No, not the best ever.
I feel like people downplay it most of the time because I like the fact that there's really not a happy. There's not really a happy ending to it, and Nico doesn't ever achieve the success that he wanted to achieve in America.
Well, considering that Nico Bellic is an immigrant who came to America, that story actually does have a lot of relevancy in today's political
because he came to America because he wanted to achieve the American dream.
Honestly, he wanted to be honest.
He saw how much he lost trying to achieve the American dream, and there really is no happy ending in that game, no matter which route you choose.
Yeah,
that's a really good point, actually. So I want to answer this.
So what was that? What was the question?
We've got about 5 minutes left, so I want to quickly answer this question. It's from at Deadeye Jones. He says, "Early release games. Do you think they help or hinder the development process?" And this is relevant because we're giving away a code here in a few minutes about an early release game.
It depends if the developers
I'll say they help. They help.
I don't know. I think it depends on the game. I don't think.
I mean, something like PUBG, they're actively with the early access. They're actively
Well, John
seeking
can't play
community
that, so we can't talk about that.
Yeah, my computer's
Yeah,
just not
I
gonna
mean,
do
it's
it.
working in the case for that game. Like they, still,
Yeah, they actually listen to feedback and whatnot.
and they're basically patching it every single week.
Yeah.
plenty
Like
of
you
shit.
said, it depends on the game. The key is the management, right? It's like a project. You need to keep it in scope, and if they can keep their project in scope, the additional revenue that comes from the period that it's during early access can sustain them to finish it. The problem that happens a lot of time is they start getting money, their scope expands, they lose all sight and control of what they're originally going to do, and they either leave things half finished or they're unable to. Their ambitions basically get too big for, and that's kind of what we've seen with Star Citizen. That game, maybe it'll turn out to be
Has like
amazing.
3
but,
different
like,
modules or whatever.
I own that game and I don't know what the hell's happening.
I think it even depends on the developer.
Yeah. So it's just about how they manage it and how they run it and how the updates are handled. It can slowly grow you. I'm giving away code for The Long Dark in a few minutes here. They sold 1.3 million copies on Steam. They had gradual updates and it worked for them. It slowly built their install base and helped sustain development. But if you release a game in early access that's totally broken and doesn't work and you don't communicate and there's no updates, your game's dead. It doesn't matter.
Like
Yeah. So
sometimes like an early access game is broken though, and it doesn't matter. Like it takes off and takes a life. Like I think a really good example is Ark Survival Evolved. Like that game is busted. Like it's an ugly ass game. It doesn't run well. I've played it. It's not enjoyable. I don't have a good time playing it. But for whatever reason, it's extremely popular. And at the same time, I feel like there are some games that could have benefited greatly from early access. I think a good example would have been No Man's Sky. I feel like No Man's Sky would have benefited from an early access release because then people could have provided input. They could have possibly guided the game towards something better.
No Man's Sky is a unique situation. Like if
Sony also need to push out the game for.
See, that's the thing. If No Man's Sky had never been picked up by Sony, if it had stayed 100% indie and gone the Steam route and all that, then you were absolutely correct. The early access would have been extremely beneficial, but they also would not have been in the spotlight as much during development. That the same pressures wouldn't have applied. They would have been under the same time constraints. No Man's Sky is an outlier. It's a freak. I would not use that for an example.
That's an interesting point, Susan, because I have said before, I feel like Sony was the one that really killed No Man's Sky, for making it out to be something that it clearly wasn't.
Yeah.
You have to remember, No Man's Sky was like one of their biggest games last summer too.
Yeah, I mean it's sold
they really needed to push it out and sell it.
It really makes you wonder what would have happened to the game had it stayed independent and not been money headed by Sony.
By the way, I love it. It's real good.
It's
fun.
It too. Yeah, it's a fine game. I own it. I've put about 50 hours into it. There's nothing wrong with the game at all. It wasn't what Sony
and
said
also
it was
what
going
it
to be.
is now is vastly different.
The survival mode in that game is legit fun. It's good.
And the base building, I'm into it.
It's just I feel like that game got middling reviews, not because it's a terrible game, but because it was not what Sony told us it was going to be. I feel like that's the reason it got 7s.
I mean, there wasn't much to it at launch. There wasn't.
Don't let your developers talk directly to the customers. You need
if No Man's Sky would have been like Fortnite, if you knew you were buying the early access version, it probably would have been a different story.
That's a great, you know what? So do you guys feel like, I have not played Fortnite, but do you guys feel like Fortnite's early access is helping it? It seems to be doing well, right?
Yeah, it's doing very well. Like
it's from the developers of Gears of War.
Yeah, we all know they can do a compelling narrative.
Different developers by this point.
Yeah. I mean, those guys aren't it. Those guys aren't.
It's not the same. It's not the same
like
epic from 10 years ago.
That's like a sell point. That's like for the developers, like Gears of War.
Dude,
comes a new game
about
a multiplayer
base
game.
Building with
Base building
loot boxes, and
it's like Minecraft but with your friends. But you can already play that with your friends.
That sounds like it's up Susan's alley.
It does.
Go ahead.
I don't tend to enjoy games from Epic, and that is all I will say publicly.
There's an interesting.
Are they not epic enough for you?
She's not going to say it publicly.
Moving on.
She's not going to say it publicly. All right.
That's fine.
We'll go ahead.
Well, we gotta
and,
wrap up.
yeah.
I need some time.
Yeah, it's
as well.
10:30 anyway. We got to wrap it up.
We all have to talk
Yeah,
about it.
I'm
Jet-
not even joking.
Brandon
As soon as
needs
we're
a-
done, I'm gonna get in the car.
You're going to get
and
that
go
sack
talk
of
about it.
10 soft tacos.
Might
You're
be
gonna
about
bring home.
15, but yeah, there's gonna be.
Shove it in the. Yeah, okay.
So, Jeff, we have a winner for the Long Dark giveaway.
We do. I don't think he's in chat. It's Diogo Frere. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. At DOMF
Diogo.
on
Okay,
Twitter.
yeah, I know him.
He's
Yeah.
one of our friends. So I will get in touch with him and make sure he gets his code.
Awesome.
Cool.
Outstanding. That's awesome. Well, that'll do it for episode 84 of the Super Deformed Gamescast. Susan, it is such a pleasure having you back on, and it's been way too long, and let's not wait this long
Indeed.
next time.
Yeah, it's been a
Lovely-
blast having you
lovely
on
to hear.
tonight.
Thank you so much for having me back. You guys are always so much fun to talk to.
I
You're
feel,
always so much fun to have on here.
yes,
Hey.
yeah, well, I feel like Susan kind of keeps us in check. She keeps us in line. So, like I said, when Susan says, "Look," everybody's like,
I mostly I just tell you you're wrong.
and that's fine. You know, like it's
She always
We do
tells
that
me
when you're
wrong.
not here. Don't worry.
no, they do that in DMs. They do that on the podcast. My wife does that in real life.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
So
Yes,
my-
Susan's all like, Jay, you're right about Mario Party 4. John, you're wrong about Dark Souls.
Okay,
Jay-
he is the obsessive part about the Dark Souls. We need to work on that. Mario Party, sweetie, we need to talk.
yeah,
Not
we really do.
publicly. We're not gonna talk
Okay,
about
not
live.
publicly, but we
Yes.
should maybe chat.
Susan, you weren't here the other day when he said there was no good Mario games.
This is, sweetie. Oh, okay.
I think she heard about it. I think everyone on Twitter heard
Anthony,
about
I'm
it.
sure. I know Anthony tweeted it out.
I know, like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go the Super Mario Galaxy route with you. Just like Super Mario Golf.
Mario.
That game is amazing.
Super Mario, Super Mario
I
RPG.
I grew up playing Hot Shots Golf. So
Okay, all right, fair. Then I will give you that because Hot Shots is
and
excellent.
Super Mario RPG is one of the greatest.
Super Mario RPG.
It's one of the best RPGs from the Super Nintendo era by far.
It's really good.
Well, I'll play it for the first. I'll play it for the first time on my
Paper
Super
Mario,
Nintendo Mini.
Paper Mario, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy. I mean, Super Mario World, Super Mario
Yeah.
World. Like, I mean,
Super
that is
Mario World.
Super Mario World's boring to me.
God.
You're crazy.
You
That's a
asshole.
classic.
You
That's a 10 out of
asshole.
10 game.
That's an
Shut
asshole
your
thing to
mouth.
say. I don't even care. It's an asshole thing to
It's-
say.
Like
literally
growing
one of
up,
the-
growing up, I would try to
Still
play
fun
it, and it
game
was
to
just
play.
always boring. I always go back to playing Super Metroid or Kirby.
It's literally one of the best platformers ever made, Boo.
Yeah,
I'm
it is.
sorry, but it
Honestly,
just is.
Brandon's
We,
not
we,
gonna
we
have-
all know the best platformer ever made is on Spyro 2 Repto's Raid.
I can't take any more of this.
Brandon, Brandon doesn't
Really?
need-
You're not even going 3 Year of the Dragon? Really? Really?
Brandon
No.
doesn't need to go to
No,
Taco
I don't- I
Bell
don't-
to
I don't-
get
I don't
hot
like Year of the
tacos. All the hot
Dragon. I-
tacos are right here on this podcast.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I feel like Year of the Dragon just has too
I
many.
get all the
beats in it,
diarrhea
you know?
I need right. Super
Okay,
funny.
that's fair. I can't. Yeah, you're right about that. That's okay. That's okay.
All right, we're going off the rails. I got to end this before Jay starts talking anymore. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been episode 84 of the Super Deformed Gamescast. As always, it's not always poetry, and we don't always agree, as you have clearly seen today. but we always keep it real. Please be good to each other, and don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next week. So until then, be good to each other and enjoy your video games.